reigns over YouTube as the king of the Micto community, up there with the likes of infamous menaces such as Jidion, and he does all this whilst claiming the title of YouTube's wildest creator, and rightly so, with videos like exploring a city with no laws, strapping his friends to a big bubble and getting hit by cars, or running a race with bulls chasing him being the baseline for his channel. It's no surprise that YouTube takes a dislike to Danny. In fact, most of his videos require you to be 18 plus and verify your age due to their reckless and dangerous nature. But despite these restrictions on his content and the fact that he doesn't upload that often, Danny still manages to rake in over 20 million views per month consistently, and according to Social Blade, makes upwards of $56,000 a month from YouTube ad revenue alone. However, this large amount of money is only a tiny piece of the enormous $150 million empire that Danny Duncan has built from just 2 words that started off as a joke. But life for Danny Duncan wasn't always so happy-go-lucky, where he could do whatever he wanted. In fact, it came with a considerable cost. Born on July 27, 1992, he spent his early years in Eaglewood, Florida, before moving to Los Angeles, California. Before their divorce, his parents had 2 more children, his sister Kathy and half-brother Matthew. Raised by a single mother battling alcoholism, Duncan had no choice but to grow up fast.
Everything that she tried to give us, so that was pretty much the motivation, I'd say. Every time I was doing something, every time I was struggling, I would always think about my mom, and yeah.
Throughout school, he ran track and played for a basketball team, so he pretty much had an average high schooler's experience. But it was his interest in skating that really sparked a light in him. Before he knew it, Danny had saved enough money to fly out to Los Angeles, where skating was a dominant part of their culture, to book more clients. However, his entire trajectory changed when skateboarder turned actor Jason Lee hired Danny as his PT. During the sessions, the topic of Danny getting into acting came up. Jason advised Danny that YouTube could be a great way to get more acting roles. So he took his advice and started a YouTube channel called Danny Duncan PT. And he kept his PT style of videos up until there was yet another and arguably the biggest trajectory switch in his life, which was his transition of content to wild and dangerous pranks.
I did a lot of stuff I did as kids, funny stuff. I watched Jackass a lot growing up, Bam Margera, so I was always doing crazy stuff as a child. And then, I kept doing that, and then it was like a struggle at first, but I would always think about I would just remind myself, I'd be like, man, if Jason Lee, this guy's like a millionaire, he's really rich, really successful in acting. I was like, if this guy thinks I'm funny, I gotta have something,
Before Danny had his big break, he was homeless and living life on the edge.
I would go on Tinder and I would, talk to girls, and I would just stay at Tinder girls' houses all the time. And that was the biggest breakthrough for me to not be homeless.
How many nights in a month do you
Endless
think you did
nights,
that?
man. As many as I possibly could.
Now, during the start of his YouTube career, Duncan had made a friend that he often filmed with. His name is Chris Chan, and from an early stage, he saw the potential of a content demon inside of Danny. Being an OG member of YouTube, creating a channel in 2009, people were more focused on creating a channel centered around their own interests. And this was obvious based on Chris's overall content, which was heavily centered around his interest in skating. During that time filming together, Chris noticed how much Danny was struggling financially despite his efforts. So for one of his videos, he gifted him with a used car, which not only improved his morale, but also gave him a place to live. And although his career was going on the right track for a while, it was around this time that his content took another step up, with more outlandish videos like jumping over kids at a trampoline park, sneaking onto rooftops in LA, and grocery shopping with Danny Duncan, in which he pretty much messes with the employees, jumps off the top of the aisles, and damages some products. It completely worked. He was averaging hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views. But here's the issue. Not all of these viewers were fans of his, and the more Danny's views grew, the more the dissatisfaction of the outraged public from his pranks. Danny Duncan is the uncontested single worst human being I have ever personally met, with an ego that is even bigger and more obnoxious when he's off camera than when he's making a video. Accidentally ended up in one of his videos a few years back. He was an asshole. I kind of just got that he's a diet version of the 2010s Jake and Logan Pauls, but from what I'm hearing, he's worse. But the shouts of a few couldn't stop the wave of momentum that Danny was riding. Now, naturally, it didn't take long for Danny to grow in subscribers at all, but things really began to change when he hit 500,000 subscribers. This is around the time that Danny decided to make merch. Making merch isn't so uncommon, In fact, majority of YouTubers who have a large fan base do so, but none of them do it like Danny Duncan. Danny's first piece of merch was pretty basic, with nothing more than his face photoshopped onto the body of Ronald McDonald. Although it was really basic, his fans just didn't care.
Over 1 million people have bought.
Millions.
Millions. In other words, you weren't one of these creators who waited until you were huge and launched a merch line.
I launched my merch at about 500K, and I did a week campaign, and I made like 12 grand. I was like, dude, no way. And then I did it again like a couple weeks later and made like 15 grand.
Wow.
Then I did it again, and like another week later made like 10. I was like, okay, this is I actually made like $1 million off that, and then McDonald's hit us up.
But his methods were cut short by McDonald's, who ordered a cease and desist due to the Ronald McDonald looking a little too similar to their branding. But he wasn't done just yet. This only fueled Danny to launch his now notorious Virginity Rocks merch, and his fans were relentless in their support. Since its release, he's made over $150 million in gross profits. And this was all from t-shirts with funny phrases only a few syllables long. However, this isn't to undermine the genius of Danny Duncan. To understand what it took to generate the $150 million empire, we have to look at the genius actions that he took. In 2019, Danny was one of the first and paved the way for creators to sell their merch at retail locations with his Zoomies debut. Zoomies being one of the leading retailers for lifestyle brands. During the launch in 2019, a test run had taken place and the merch had completely sold out. And during the test, Danny Duncan's name was also the top search term on the Zoomies website. After Danny's drop on Zoomies, smaller creators have even reached out to him to thank him, saying that without him, their path to retail distribution would be non-existent. Since then, Duncan's retail presence has expanded into almost 2,000 locations, including Tilly's, Spencer's, and even collaborating with Hooters, with Danny over the years expanding his catalogue of merch to more exciting designs but still staying true to his nature. And after trademarking the term Virginity Rocks and many other funny phrases on his merch, Danny's future was in good hands. Well, for now at least. I say that because not everyone welcomed Danny's merch with open arms.
The St. Charles County School District is taking issue with a student's sweatshirt.
It centers on the 2 words that are printed across the front of it, and the teen says they're taking it the wrong way.
I actually want to show you this sweatshirt he was wearing. So this is exactly what it said on it, Virginity Rocks. He was wearing it at Wentzville Middle School. On Monday, he says his teacher pulled him out of class and actually walked with him to the principal's office. It was there at the principal's office where he was told to either take it off, flip it inside out, or the school would have to take action.
13-year-old London Piglowski agreed to take off the sweatshirt, though his mom says the district threatened to suspend him if he wore it again.
After the news went viral, this is what the school had to say. The district's policy regarding student dress code provides opportunities for administrators to address students' attire that is potentially disruptive to the educational environment. And certain people also decided to take their opinions to Reddit. Let's be serious here, folks. Kids are wearing this, especially middle school kids, because it's quote-unquote ironic. It's disruptive and they know exactly what they're doing, with one user stating that the district's dress code does not allow students to wear clothing with statements advocating immoral, illegal, sexual or violent behavior. I'm not sure how the term Virginity Rocks falls into one of those 4 categories, but okay. And another user replying with, it's defiantly sexual. It's not a bad message, but it does hit that topic. I think it's more along the lines of preventing the sweater to create a controversy that distracts from class. But fans of Danny Duncan and Danny himself didn't respond lightly to this, and so he loaded up a minivan full of the Virginity Rocks merch that was banned from the school and handed them out for free in the area. Huge crowds gathered, businesses and even random people seemed to enjoy what was happening. So, some could say that the school's ban of the merch had completely backfired. There's no doubt that the numbers pulled by Danny are absolutely insane, and to sell that much from such a simple idea was unheard of. But if you've been paying attention, then you would have noticed that Danny's merch all follow a similar format, which is an extremely basic design that could have been made by anyone. And so the real question was why? Why were his fans so loyal to the point where millions of dollars were generated so easily? Well, we have to dig a little deeper. Earlier in the video, I mentioned that he has the title of YouTube's wildest creator, but this didn't come without sacrifice. But the right way for Danny meant saying no to millions of dollars that he didn't feel were authentic. It also meant not always following YouTube's monetization guidelines or using copyrighted music simply because he likes a song enough to include it in his video. Although it cost him millions in revenue, at the same time it meant that Danny had complete creative control over his channel and he never sold out to his viewers. I mean, many creators say that they care about their fans first, before anything, but how many of them would turn down a $2 million deal? But staying true to his nature was a difficult battle, and doing whatever he wanted had significant consequences that could have cut his career short. YouTube would end up deleting countless Danny Duncan videos that had up to 20 million views, yet he declined so many promos and refused to censor himself at the cost of his channel, and frankly, a lot of companies wouldn't sponsor him at all. But all this did was fuel him to be even more authentic and create a sense of loyalty between him and his fans that would cause them to go crazy for anything Danny Duncan released, because he wasn't a quote-unquote sellout. Now he's the one refusing multiple million-dollar promotions simply because he doesn't need it. However, this giving and down-to-earth personality wasn't only shown to his viewers, but also to his close group that he works with. The group he films with is paid extremely well, enticing them even more to be a part of the channel or even create avenues for themselves. However, this approach did backfire once and almost cost Danny his credibility and potentially more. On the 1st of December 2021, Aaron Hall, aka Sunhat Kid, published a now deleted video to his channel titled The Truth Behind Danny Duncan. Aaron Hall was a close friend of Danny and often appeared on Danny's channel, participating in his crazy acts. However, out of nowhere, the video was released and Aaron claimed some serious allegations of assault and abuse whilst working with Danny, stating things like Duncan had cornered him in a bathroom and held a knife to his throat, kicked him in the head after failing a skateboard trick, and that no one cared about the alleged abuse at the time. He also claimed that Danny didn't care about him unless he was being hit or acting like a clown for entertainment. In the video itself, there was a severe lack of evidence to back up his claims, but many people who were saddened by the story or simply hated Danny Duncan took this as a chance to try and take him down, stating things like, "I believe, Sunhat Kid, Danny Duncan always seemed like the type of dude that would do this controlling type of thing. Just Florida trash that got fame and money and thinks he's entitled to do whatever he wants to people. His videos are nothing but him torturing his friends and being a bully." However, after Danny released his response, Sunhat Kid's video was beginning to look more and more like a publicity stunt.
Here right now is that I gotta do whatever it takes to make it. That's what I do, I guess. Whatever it takes.
Yeah, make sure you
Whatever.
pay back the deposit. What is it? The deposit on the apartment.
Whatever it takes.
And as many began to point out in the now deleted exposed video, Aaron decided to put his Cash App details in the description, even though this was never done in his other videos, perhaps in anticipation of the video blowing up and people feeling sorry for him. And since the incident, it seems as though Sunhat Kid has almost disappeared from the internet. And as the video comes to a close, one question remains: will Danny Duncan ever be cancelled in such a way, or has he solidified himself with his core audience far too much to ever be taken down? Only time will tell. Time